Right, let's take a look at Worlds Without Number. Now, this is a complete role-playing game, and it's a fantasy role-playing game, and I was watching a YouTuber who was setting up his world ready for a brand new solo play. And what I saw him doing when he was generating his world, using stuff out of this book, it just hit me as that could really be useful for Traveller. So, if the players are going to hit a new world, you want to build up what that world contains of. Now, this does have a fantasy, or it is written for fantasy, but there's an awful lot in here that could also apply to your science fiction games. And that's kind of what I'm interested in. So, Worlds Without Number, apparently it was kickstarted, though I never heard of it. And it's available on drive-thru, but let's sort of jump through here. Now, I'm skipped some of the basic stuff. When you create a world with this, you start off by naming the world, coming up with continents, countries, regions, and it gives you tables to help you build up those sort of things. And then when you have a region, you add terrain features, like you can see I've got highlighted here. And it's these tables that I found so fascinating and quite possibly so useful. So how dangerous is this feature? So it's a terrain feature, so it could be like a death zone for all but the strongest. I find that it's so inspirational, I suppose the word is. What use is the feature? So let's say you've got a mountain. It has military significance. Over here, how populated is this feature? Do people live on this mountain? Maybe, maybe not. What antagonists are common there? So in the fantasy realm, it might be overrun by orcs, but just as easily in the science fiction realm, it could be a dangerous beast, a xeno creature of some sort that's pretty damn dangerous. And if that mountain has valuable resources on it, then people are going to go there anyway. I love that sort of stuff. So, optional quirks of this feature. It's maintained by an ancient artificial mind. Now, this is a fantasy game, but artificial minds? That sounds very sci-fi to me. What kind of event last happened there? An uncanny plague. You can see how this would build up a very interesting area in your science fiction game. Let's roll forward. What other tables? Okay, so we're dealing with the state, I think, here. Nation construction. Again, very applicable to Traveller and Cepheus engine. Disputes with neighbouring states. They broke off an allowance. Positive ties with neighbouring states. So again, you've got a table of choices here. You've got a shared enemy with somebody else. Current national problems. An ancient ruin has disgorged some peril. That could be something left by the ancients. Some robotic menace has just emerged. I hope you can see how these tables are so good for Traveller. Good things that are happening. A dark cult has been revealed and purged. And again, just one option. More tables now. National themes. Now, that's basically a cultural guide. So here I've just highlighted one, justice, where a reckoning is to be had. Again, lots of different cultural concepts that you could apply to each of the nations. Now, I know a lot of people, when they build Traveller worlds, they tend to do like a monoculture over the whole world, or if it's just got a small population, they might do that. But many of the worlds you generate through Traveller and Cepheus, they have multiple governments, multiple countries, so this stuff could just be so applicable for generating an entire world with that sort. So let's just roll on. What are the tables? Skin colours, yeah, it's a bit obvious, but we got like pale white with pinkish hues. Possibly they live underground, Hair colour, eye colour. So you're building up national traits. What sort of build are they? Because some races are bigger than others, aren't they? Common forms of adornment. Now, we know that nose rings are popular on Earth in some places, more popular than in others, so that's what this is kind of heading towards. If in the fantasy realm, of course, dwarves have beards, that sort of thing. Physical quirks or traits. Their mouths are fanged and tusked, or tusked. Again, we do have sort of tribal nations, is that the right word, here on Earth, where they file their teeth to points. So, again, that sort of thing can apply in science fiction. Values they esteem and value, a full D100 table of values this people esteem. Subtlety and indirectness. Wow, you could set up some twisting plots with that one. seeking fortune in new places or new roles. So again, you've got a race of people who like to evolve new things, break new ground. Again, that could change a culture completely. Sending out your young men to discover new lands or new features, that sort of thing. Societal organisation. Now that's an aesthetics. Okay, so the major unit of social identity. Now what could that be? Astrologically determined birth groups. So perhaps they've got a caste system based on what time of the year you were born. That would be quite interesting. Not who your parents were or where they were, but when you were born could change your potential outlooks. That could be fascinating. And here they even link to some template societies, but frankly, I don't think that's too useful unless you happen to know much about Imperial Persia. So that's not so great. Government construction. Again, there's so much to dig into just through going through this section of building up this fantasy world for your sci-fi game. Ruling classes, warlords, military leaders, or it could be magically or psionically empowered bloodlines. Institutions and agents of control, so hireling enforcers. So there's a lot of police around, that sort of thing. What section? Diseases of rule. Now that's interesting. So things that go wrong with government. So struggles within the government. Popular discontent is destroying the legitimacy. So the actual people of the land are saying out loud, that their government is not legitimate. Fascinating. So you've got different tables here for how you had got single rulers or multiple rulers over this country. Government details. So how stable is the government? Precarious. Its authority is questioned by some. So that would tie into the result we had further up here. Lots of things. Strength of the government. Its diplomats are remarkably cunning. Again, we had a result earlier on one of the other tables saying how they admire deviancy. Deviancy, is that the right word? Being sneaky, basically. So there's lots of options that can tie into each other here. You can even build a history. I like this. So there are historical crises that happened on this world. A malevolent religion took power, or a tyrannical rule even. What became the original inhabitants? So were some people displaced or removed? And how did they overcome this crisis? In this case, martial powers and military cunning I've highlighted as a good one. Ruthless but effective sacrifices were made. Wow. So you can build up quite some detailed background. This is even a hint towards the entire history of a colony or whatever. What was so great about the society's peak? Its culture was compelling to its neighbours, so it spread its culture. Okay, let's see, what else have we got down here? Historical events. So another D100 list. A Praetorian coup. So the elite guards took over at one point in the history. And you could roll 2 or 3 of these things in here and build up a series of events that took place for your history. Religious constructions. Now, what Traveller game isn't made better by having religions warring while the armies are fighting in the streets? So, again, you can come through here and find a whole bunch of tables to help you out here. Why does the faith matter to these people? It's a huge economic player in the area. Wow. Does the church control all the commerce? How does that fit in when a megacore comes to the planet? Do they have to bow and kowtow to the religious leaders? Could be quite interesting. What does the faith want? What the clerics like? What does this god do in society? Or what do the religious people say the god does in the society? So what is the god's portfolio? So we've got like 2 mini tables here. Human concerns and natural principles. So perhaps we've got a god or a church that believes in a god that believes in justice and the underworld. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean post-death? Or is there literally an underworld in here? Perhaps not quite a hollow earth, but certainly perhaps some underground colonists. Over on this side, particular religious requirements. Again, you've got a whole variety, 20 choices here, but in this case, forbid an activity common to society. Interesting. Perhaps breeding's forbidden here. If you're on a colony, you could have serious resource problems, such is there enough air, for instance, to allow people to breed in an uncontrolled manner, that is. So again, great inspiration here. Temple details, so religious temples. Malevolent cults, we mentioned earlier. Well, you've got a whole bunch of tables here. Unbelievers are to be killed on principle. How do they enforce their will? Traitors are betrayed to the cult enemies. Ooh. Specific traits of the cult. It favours monstrous body alterations. Now, we could see this happening. You land on a planet and everybody's got one leg. Why? Well, God said. That kind of thing. Fascinating. You can make each planet feel different with these series of tables. Everything could look different. I'm trying to just see if I have highlighted anything else. Hang on, let's try paging down. Rural villages, so you can build up, again, these could be little habitats rather than a village. So once it was a garrison outpost. Okay, what other things we got here? Who runs it? A traditional squire is running this colony. A gifted young peasant is a significant local. Current pressing problems, a curse or magical woe. Okay, so how do you get the magical woe? That could be a psionic woe, couldn't it, within Traveller and Cepheus engine. More tables for building up cities. Tribes and exiles, features of the tribe. Bestially savage tyrant runs this tribe. Significant locals, feared troublemaker. Ooh, that goes well with the bestially savage tyrant. Current pressing problems, a sickness is raging through the tribe. So again, you can make every location, every place the players visit, feel different. You can give them their own motivations with just a few rolls of a table. Okay, let's page on down, see if I saw anything else that caught my attention. Lots of explanations for various tables that we've been looking at. So again, that can grant you some inspiration. I think that might be it. Did make some notes, hang on. Page 187. So let me just try and jump to that. What have I got on 187? Ruins. Okay. So we can generate ruins. Who doesn't love investigating a mysterious alien planet ruin? And you've got lots of options here. What do the locals think? It and its perils are hated and feared, so perhaps there's an old station that people are just afraid to go and visit. Maybe it's got some automated defences that kill people, and that's made the locals say, just stay away. How did it become ruined? Its inhabitants died out or simply left it. So perhaps that's a dome somewhere on a moon. Why hasn't it been plundered? The true entrance to it is unknown. Okay, so maybe only a few explorers have found the hidden entrance to this. What kind of ruin is it? It's a mine or a tunnel system, so it could be an underground base. Anything else here highlighted? Okay, I think that's probably the last of the stuff I had highlighted. Yep, okay. Anyway, this is a fantasy game, but I found an awful lot of tables in it that I'm going to be using in my Traveller and Cepheus engine games. If you like what you've seen, I'll put a link to it on Drive-Thru RPG in the description below.